Hi there, I'm going to show you how to make a spirally pumpkin stem. One thing I really enjoy about this is that while in most of my other crochet I have to be really precious about my tension and my yarn, because it's a gnarly stem, I don't need to worry about that. So no promises on perfection here. So first I just chain 6, and then I take my hook and I attach it back to the very first chain with a single crochet, like that. Gets very twisty and turny when you do it this way, but honestly, if you get the top or the bottom of a stitch, it won't even matter because it's a pumpkin stem, and pumpkin stems are not supposed to be even. So then I just add a single crochet into each of those 6 stitches. All the way around, and then I'm going to do another row just right on top of that, so all the way around. Sometimes I might just pick up the front loop just to keep it open enough to see it, but it doesn't really matter at all. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is where you can do another row to make it bigger or less to make it smaller. I think I'm going to do one more just to be able to show you. So go around again. 1, 2, 3. Be careful not to go all the way through it, although even if you do, then you just have a flatter stem, and quite frankly, real pumpkins have flat stems sometimes, so that works. So now that I have a decent base built up, you can see it's kind of making a little tube here. Then I'll reduce it to 4 around so it tapers. So I do 1 single crochet, and then because it's so small, I find it easier to go through the chain, pick up my yarn, through the next stitch, pick up my yarn, hopefully bring it back through. There we go. And then you have 3 on, and you just go through all 3 to join those together. And that's the easiest thing to do in this kind of thing, and the bumps don't matter because it's a stem. I do 1 more single crochet, and then I join another 2 together. So once again, I go through that first stitch. This is where it gets to be the hardest, and it's hard not to go through. So through the first stitch, pick up my yarn, through the second stitch, pick up my yarn, 3 on, bring them all together, and then I have 4 on top. So now I'm going to go all the way around there. Again, try not to poke all the way through, just poking through the one layer and not both sides of the stem. And I'll do this as many times around until I feel like the base is the size that I want it to be. I find doing 4 at the top is one of the best ways. I could continue tapering it to 2 if I wanted to just do a straight stem, but I want a curly stem. So now that I've gotten it tapered and a little bit long, I want to start the curling part. So here what I'll do is I'll just chain 16 right from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Typically I would be worried about my tension and where I put the stitches and the fact that I seem to have messed that up somewhere in there, but because it's a stem, I don't care, and that's kind of nice. So then I find my second chain from the hook there. I go through that one with a slip stitch, and I go through this next one with a single crochet, and I just do that so the very top of the stem winds up with like a little flat tip, and then I start curling. So I'll go through each chain with 3 individual single crochets. So there's 2, 3, so you're putting 3 single crochets in each chain. And you can do that all the way down to the base. When you do 3 in each, it makes it for a pretty tight spiral. As you can see, it's already starting to wrap around there and make a little curly Q. So 1, 2, 3 in that stitch. It's already wrapped around a few times, as you can see. And now, just for time and to show you the difference, I'm going to put 2 in each. 1, 2. 1, 2. And you want to do that all the way down to the bottom. You can do 3 all the way down or 2 all the way down. You can do 3 and 2 like I just did. You can alternate. Sometimes I'll go 3, 2, 3, 2, which makes for a cool pattern. If I want it to kind of be a little asymmetrical, sometimes I'll go 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and just kind of play with the different patterns the spirals make so each one looks just a little bit different. Sometimes I'll go down to the very end of the stem and I'll just do a few single crochets instead of doubling up so it stops spiraling towards the bottom. It looks a little flatter so it all kind of matches. There's all different variations and I've just been kind of playing with them and seeing what happens when I do each one. So now I'm down back to the very start of the chain. As you can see, the very top of the spiral is curled pretty tightly, and then down here it's curled a little bit looser. One thing to know is you can always kind of spiral it up or spiral it out. You can even actually reverse the spiral or make it kind of fold up if you want to. There's all different ways you can kind of play with this, which is fun. So here's where I get a little creative. So because it kind of looks like the stem part is detached from the base, I just look for the stitch that's kind of across from where I landed, and I just pick that up. Hopefully both sides of it, there we go. And I put a single crochet right there. And that kind of attaches the whole thing to look like one piece. And then what I would do is I kind of do a superficial stitch on top of my work. So I'll look for the next diagonal and I stick my hook through the top into the bottom hole. It kind of just comes in and out through that stem, and I put a single crochet there. Next one I might go for this hole, so go in that hole, out the next hole. And it doesn't really matter if you skip one or you don't do it, it just adds to the fact that it looks like it actually grew out of the earth and wasn't made out of string. So now I'm gonna go down almost to where I started. I'll add one last one to kind of poke out the bottom of that initial circle there. So I'm poking out through the bottom of the stem, and then I can fasten that off. And as you can see, that made this little ridge here. Hopefully you can see that, which continues the spiral up as if it actually grew that way. And then I can just attach that little part to the pumpkin. Pretend this pill is a pumpkin. Stitch it all in there. Sometimes I'll just do 6 around the edge to make it look like it grew that way. And that's the stem.